Chad, my husband, when I met him, he could do anything. He lived, as a young man even, he could do and had done so much. He piloted boats, worked in cranberry bogs. He was a farmer. He ran a combine at the age of 5. He's done it all. He enjoyed sports, played basketball and football, graduated from a small school in Washington, and, he just took on the world.
My dad was someone who always would take up a team and coach it if there was no coach to coach. Same with the community. If somebody needed to raise money or do a volunteer group, he would be one of the first ones to lead it, especially when it came to the fire department. He was very active and made sure that they had funding, and if they didn't have funding within the department, he'd go outside and try to find people that would help fund any programs that they had.
His brother-in-law was active in the volunteer service, and Chad was just doing everything. He wanted something to do, but wanted to have something that had good benefits and could take care of a family, and so he started volunteering. Then he joined EMS service and became an IV tech, and EMS was one of the first paid service for medical service in our South Beach area down in Washington, and worked in the ambulance there, and simultaneously volunteered for fire. Then their service became a professional service for fire, and he became a paramedic and firefighter there. The year that we found out we were pregnant, he transitioned to a job with Aberdeen Fire, and it was my father was retiring from that, and so there was a vacancy in Chad. So we thought, the opportunity to move to Aberdeen, and took that. And so Chad actually replaced my dad at Aberdeen Fire. And his first week training for Aberdeen Fire, we were going to, I was pregnant with her, and he was coming to a call out in our small valley, and we passed each other on the road. And he knew that I was in labor because my mom was driving, and he was in the ambulance coming out to a call in a small country road, and passed. And so that's how he knew, and finished his shift and then met us at the hospital. And then we had her that night.
My dad had a lot of hobbies, but not a lot of spare time, especially in the last couple of years with the shortage of firefighters in our area. But when he did have free time, he would go to the east side of our state and do a lot of fishing. We usually did lake fishing, but then we also have our coast, so we would go out into the bays and fish there. I think when he was younger, he enjoyed golfing, but that kind of faded as fishing became his main joy, and would upgrade his boat every couple of years. But besides fishing, he also did some farming for some local farmers. So he would, at the beginning of volunteer time, help fixing equipment because he enjoyed that. And then he ended up helping them throughout a couple of seasons, helping with harvest, and then also getting in the seeds in the spring to be ready for harvest in the fall.
He was a collector too. He loved, when we first met, we met at a bowling alley on a blind date. He bowled. He brought to the relationship probably 30 different bowling balls that we moved with us until we finally didn't move them with us. But he also loved John Deere tractors, but we have a John Deere room. He collected little John Deere implements, and so we have a whole room full of little John Deere implements. He loved not only being on a John Deere, but also having the little John Deeres. Whenever we would take trips, he was actually born in North Dakota, so he would go back to North Dakota, and we would have to stop at all the John Deere stores on the way there. He would go back to North Dakota for hunting with his brother and nephews, and he was always engaged, always with family and friends, and at his service, it really revealed itself, because he was a best friend to so many people. And it was surprising to me how Chad was the first call for so many people. I knew he got a lot of calls, but I didn't realize how many daily touch-ins he did with people that needed that. We would joke that he would always start off with, well, if a guy could. And that was, if a guy could, do this, then that would happen. If a guy could do this, then that would happen. And so he was always that, if a guy could. He was a dreamer, and he always pushed. Nothing held him back. He would literally do anything if he thought it would help, or if it needed to be done. He did not shy away. And I think that's how he could do anything. At the station, he worked on the rigs. He did all the mechanic work. As a medic, he started, the best IVs, intubated. He just could do it all. If you approached him with a needle, he would faint. But he was pretty remarkable with, the service of providing care. The thing for us now is that he's still here. He was very faith-oriented, and it's frequent that we know he's here, because there'll be little things that'll happen that it's like, Dad. The day of his service was in December, and there was a freak snowstorm, and it dumped inches of snow out on the cemetery. And his family from North Dakota came, and so it's just a small graveside there, because he had a very big memorial service earlier. But the snow was just dumping, and right at the end of the service, a John Deere snowplow came through, and we're in a small little valley, and so it was just unbelievable that it came through and cleared the road off for us just after the service. And it was that little moment that was like, he's still here, taking care of us. We've had so many moments of, yep, there's Dad. He had his side job, which was Mitt's Tractor Works, which was the landscaping and development. But he liked to take his bobcat and his excavator and go out and tear things up. He has a feature on his bobcat was something called a fecon head, which could literally shear a tree down to the ground. And it was an interesting implement that not many people have, or many people can actually work without it being dangerous. He could run any piece of equipment and do anything. Absolutely amazing. And I would even just be in awe of watching him work with equipment. He would be on the edge of a cliff. He would be, it was just amazing. He would clear and take care of fields and stuff so that there could be extra fields for sports, for soccer and softball, and he helped develop a lot of those for our community. He raised money to bring turf into the fields for our community. We're from Washington. It rains a lot. Games get canceled. Now they don't, because there's turf in the fields. Because he was always taking on more, and I'd be like, honey, you already said you would do this. You're already doing that. How are you going to do that? And you go, oh, I'll find time. And I go, no, really, there's only 24 hours in a day. That was another thing that I think revealed itself after he passed, is my younger brother, who is also a firefighter for Seattle, he took his phone, because his phone was just blowing up. And so he was trying to manage just phone calls of people that didn't even know he had passed. And my brother David was just like, I had no idea how much he would move things around to make things happen. You know, he had lost his home. Their house had burnt, and so they were living with us at the time. And he's just like, I had no idea, and I lived here, that he managed so many things outside of just even the fire department. Yeah, by far he was, and this has been reiterated time and time again, he was everybody's best friend. And best friend not just in the home, but he was a best friend.
My dad was someone that you could always rely on to pick up the phone when you called. He was a lot of people's first call when they ran into issues or needed help. And I hope that this brings up someone else who can be someone's first call, just like he was for everyone else.
Here's to you, with that smile on your face. Here's to you, and what I want to raise to this moment we share.